Activist since he was a college student. For a while, he worked as an executive.
Election in 2010, where it was a civilian election, although no members of the NLD were allowed candidates. And it's really coming fast and hard. And the longer they do this, the more garnered all kinds of relief from sanctions, and they are opening up to the whole world, and they're able to establish other partnerships. I think that would.
I have my own theory. I kind of been watching the situation in Burma for some time, and it became quite a few years ago, back in 2004, to the surprise of everybody, the U.S. and the West. And once the regime realized that it's very uncomfortable with.
I absolutely agree, and part of that is, I think, from the ground up. Deals that were made with China all over the country, including temple areas that were like land taken over for Chinese to build things. I mean, there has been ground.
Now, I mean, as a democracy activist, when you see a regime changing like this, is it sustainable? These changes that will continue, or will this be more
real and sustainable? Is because the people in charge in Burma right now are the exact same people who have been ruling Burma with an iron fist for the last 20 years. I think it's common knowledge that the National Defense and Security Council is still calling the shot behind President Thein Sein.
So, touch on Burma, just to shift to Vietnam. Kurt Campbell, who's the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia, he said, I don't have an answer for that. And so maybe we'll find an answer for that tonight. So as a Vietnamese democracy activist, do you think those changes can happen in Vietnam? Or what takes it?
Some really significant changes in Vietnam. The level of public discontent with any legitimacy that we have left with the population.
So, the perception was the military junta in Burma was very close to China. But I think what shocked a lot of people was when the Burmese leadership. Now, the Burma of Vietnam is this issues of bauxite mining, and with this huge Chinese interest in Vietnam, environmental concerns, and so forth. So, in Vietnam?
I wish, but right now I don't see that as a clear state responsibility, because for the same entity, they still have some wiggle room, they still have some room to maneuver.
Stunning change.
Yeah.
It's not unprecedented, but it's one of the most startling about faces ever, especially with a country like China, on whom you're so dependent. But then you said, I mean, the economic growth and prosperity is following the Chinese model, and the only wiggle room that I see is the internet and digital communications, because they did not create the internet to be filtered.
Okay.
And they have obviously very strict censorship, but they're still using old school tactics, jailing, and threatening people who are expressing their views. But they're not quite able to line the way the Chinese did. Thank you so much. It was a creative platform. I mean, it snowballs on itself. When people hear their friends on the radio, then they want to get on the program, and it's a phenomenon, I think, among the young professional internet users in Vietnam. We see more and more people trying to get on our programs so that they can share with each other. So it's.
I know a number of people here, have questions to ask the speakers. So let me ask one more question, then I'll open up to the audience here. Okay, so there's been these changes in Burma. How has that sort of affected opinion in Vietnam, both among the leadership?
Have situations as desperate as Tibet, where you have 21 self-demolitions. They need to know that there is change possible in the world, in their region. And
important the internet is, and the social media, I assume maybe even Facebook. And what I'm wondering is, are these people let's say in Vietnam or Burma, are they communicating in their own language of their country, or are they mostly communicating in English?
In the native language.
First, I was going to say that it would be nice if the way people originally were using the concept. My question is, given the economic...
And on top of that, the level of social inequality in Vietnam is also increasing many times. So yes, when you open up the economy, the country is moving forward. Yes, there are segments of the population that do well or even prosper, but there are many, many others who are not doing well, very, very angry.
I think ultimately religious persecution is a huge factor. I mean, once you realize that in the outside world, you can practice Catholicism all you want.
Morally, another, just to be on top of the
7 happened in Vietnam, and do you see it possible in any way? Is there a time horizon? Is it Catholicism, given with the way that the Catholics are sort of, particularly the Redemptorists, are sort of moving out publicly, moving out in front of the bishops? The Catholic laity is moving out in front of the bishops. But that the Saffron Revolution is something we didn't talk about. I think that the generals' opening is basically because they want a better deal from China, right? They weren't getting the deals they thought they were on pipelines and gems and other issues because of their isolation. But in a sense, the Saffron Revolution gave a moral sort of indignation and a moral rebuke of the monks against the generals. You no longer have the mandate of heaven. No matter what you say, you've lost the moral sort of connection to the people of Burma. And that in a sense coalesced all of the sort of democracy movements, dissidents, ethnic minorities, others, particularly the Buddhists, against the generals. They had that sort of ability. Cyclone Nargis just sort of helped it along. So is it possible in Vietnam to see a similar event?
very honest.
Czechoslovakia, of artists and other folks. Again, it's the notion of where does the spring of civil society come that gives life and voice to sort of move.
Question that we have to ask: well, what's going to mobilize people? What's going to
See it as a carrot or a stick or a combination or what?
Marketing water purification equipment into Vietnam, hoping we get it in there. The company is Arteron, and I also represent an American company in Michigan, but that's a long putt. But anyway, great discussion, appreciate it. But I have a question back to the the question of the conflicts in the Eastern Sea, and including the Chung Sa and those areas on the continental shelf and within the 200 nautical mile extended economic zone that Vietnam have and the Philippines have, and I guess Malaysia some. Anyway, the question is this. I think it was your discussion, sir, that you pointed out some nuances there in how much Vietnam is willing to stand up to the Chinese aggression into their extended economic zone, and how much they're willing to coerce, to yield. And I've seen so much of both, I mean, because I'm in Hanoi a lot and my business, and I read every day the daily papers like Thanh Niên, Ho Che, and all that, and so I see all of it like you do, and sometimes like you said the Buxic or the Boxic, what do they call it? Yeah,
So we have a lot of political programs from different organizations. So right now, for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, there is a conflict between political program that I have it from a Vietnamese American here. I see that most of them, they say that, they keep calm.
Member of the international being Vietnamese and American do, I really like the way the government of Vietnam behave.
Religious freedoms were not in any way, shape, or CPC list.
Could you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, which group we're talking about?
Which group? Because we stand for the whole Vietnam.
No, I mean, we have the,
Most countries in the world actually produced tangible results. It led to the type of change or changes, as small as they were, that everyone had hoped for. And so, but more so than that, because, I mean, I look at that issue in itself and say, it needs to go back on the CPC list.
And for all civilized society to see, transitional democracies happen. So in that way, we do hope that it affects the entire region, where there are several countries that we broadcast to that are in the same kind of Chinese vice grip of and closed society. So in that way, I think it is beneficial. I think I can say that.
okay. So with all of that in consideration, I definitely think it's a win-win situation for these two countries, for the region, and for the U.S. if we see democracies in these two nations.
Question is from Reggie. So when you're talking about how the internet's growing or whatever, is it between the people actually there, or is it between the people in the world? Because if you look at other revolutions like the Arab Spring, so much of why it was successful was because the internet helped them connect their cause to the world, not just people there. And you can see other countries in the Arab Spring, so many have spread. So maybe, is it connecting people to the world, or is it just together?
It's both.
Both?
There's a lot of intra-country connectivity, but there is
Sort of leverage change in Vietnam, in my estimation, is the fact that 30% or 60% of the population is under 30 in Vietnam, right? So it's a huge youth sort of movement, which, how do you harness it? I mean, that's my question.
And how much they try to change, and if they feel abandoned or no one cares, it seems to me it can't help affect them. So whatever the U.S. does, whether it's CPC or in the Constitution or arms that can be used to repress, wouldn't that have, do you think that would have an impact on their willingness to be more active?
absolutely. You're
Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to the LA School for helping to sponsor this.
Nhiều hơn.
Nếu mà ai lại gặp the name of the person.
Yeah, and the girl in the page.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, but it's just like,